Hello and welcome to the second in a series of presentations about the Apocalypse 100 ultramarathon. I'm going to assume that everyone has already watched the Apocalypse 50, which is obviously the first 50 miles of this race. I'm not going to repeat myself at all. I'm going to jump straight in with a continuation of an overview of the course for those of you who are running the 100-mile event. So, you will have just completed the 50 mile here at the cafe. Hopefully you will have grabbed some hot food from us, had access to your drop bag, and you are now going to continue on the second half of the course, which you will be pleased to hear has less hills and there is less elevation on there as well. You're going to start by running right the way down the drive, leaving Cardingmill Valley and going and joining the main road, which goes down into Church Stretton. So you'll turn right at the end of the road, make your way down here, and you'll be turning left down what is essentially the main high street, which joins up with the A49. Just so you know what you'll be seeing when you're at that point, if I go and find this here, you will have run along this road here, and you will find yourself running past the malt houses, then past the Sanford Gallery, and you're going to be running in between the Sanford Gallery and Lloyd's TSB here. So you then run straight the way down the road, and if I drag this little fella here, you'll make your way down to the A49 and you'll come to this set of traffic lights here. So you've just come running down there over the bridge by the train station, and then you're going to go straight across the road here, cross with great care, and you're next going to be making your way. Let me take you to where you were. So there you're crossing the lights, and now what you're going to do is turn up this road here. I'm going to show you this a little bit on Google Earth as well. Actually, let me flip back into that, and here we go. Okay, so you're going to step across the road. Let's see if I can make the little fella jump across the street. I think I can. There we go, and you're going to take your first left into this road here, actually, which is Watling Street North, and you're going to make your way along Watling Street, which if I just zoom into, okay, so you're going to make your way along Watling Street, which is this one here, all the way up to this point, and there are some new houses which have been built there. And then the road itself continues around to the right, and you're going to fork left onto this little lane here. And I think I can show you, let me skip back onto the map here just to show you where you are at this point. So that road is a little bit deceptive on the map here. That road actually continues round there. So the yellow road really goes round there, and you have to take a small left fork, and there's a little finger post there which takes you up to a cattle grid. And by fortune, this is also on the map. So just before the cattle grid, you're actually going to be going over that stile there and sticking to the edge of this field, running right the way around the edge and making your way into the corner up there. Now it's going to be dark here, but as long as you remember, you don't cross the cattle grid, and you should be good. Okay, with that, I'm now going to step back into the map itself. The good news is that you're not going up any of the big hills which are in this area, Caer Caradoc being one of the larger ones and steeper ones. You're actually going to make your way up into the corner of the field and join a wide track, which you then stay on for about 2.5 kilometres. It gently climbs for a little while before being fairly flat, and then a gradual descent all the way down to Willstone Hill. Easy running. You can't really go wrong with any of the navigation there, and because it's a night section, the navigation is deliberately easier where possible. At Willstone Farm, you'll join the road here and turn right and head right the way into Cardington, where you make your way around the village, and eventually you'll come out, turn right before the church, and here you'll turn right when the Royal Oak pub is on your left hand side. So you then follow the road, continue on into Gretton. Once you're in the middle of Gretton, there's a fork in the road, and it's signposted left to Plash or Place. I think it's Plash actually. So you then go for about a mile or so right the way into Plash, and then take a right then left in Plash, and continue along the road until you get to this crossroads where there is a very clear sign which says straight ahead is Red Hill Farm and Holy Mill. So you continue down the wide track past the farm buildings. Remember to be quiet through this section. There aren't any gates here, but there is a gate here. So at this point in time, you rejoin the fields. You're sticking pretty much to the right hand edge of the field. Keep going right the way down until you cross over the final stile, and you're veering very slightly away from the hedge to find a footbridge down in the middle of these trees. So you cross over the footbridge over the stream, up out of the edge of the woods, and you come out and head over a few fields. Quite easy to navigate. There are some pieces of tape in here, even though it should be dark. It's pretty straightforward. And then you're going to make your way down towards East Hope Wood Farm, which please pass through this area quietly. This is actually on the end of the loop you're going to do in a minute, so you'll be going through here twice. So there are a couple of gates and some alpacas, I think. They're either llamas or alpacas. I think they're alpacas, and they actually almost live right next to the house in between a gated area, so you must close the gates here. If you leave them open, the alpacas will escape and the farmer won't be very happy. So you make your way down the drive, and then you will continue straight ahead at this point in time, and this becomes a tarmac road, and you'll wind your way gradually up to and underneath a railway bridge. Immediately afterwards you'll turn right to reach the East Hope Wood checkpoint, which is on Wenlock Edge itself, which, as you might be able to tell, well, you will once you're on it, is an old abandoned train line. So our checkpoint volunteers will be looking after you here before you then begin your loop, which is the War Loop. The good news about the War Loop is it's not 10 miles, it's actually shorter than 10. It's nearer to around about 8, and it's actually very flat and very easy. So you're going to head over the railway bridge, over the top of it this time rather than underneath it, and right the way along Wenlock Edge for about 1.2 or nearly 2 kilometres, 1.2 miles, nearly 2k. Just before the end, there's a left fork which has got a Shropshire Way sign on, which takes you down to the road. You cross the road here, there's a sign that says Lower Hill Farm. I think they do some camping and things like that. So you head along that, but only for 200 metres. And then you're going to start heading up into the woods, and climb reasonably steadily for about 300 metres before joining the main track that continues along Wenlock Edge. But you're only on that for about 400 metres before you'll get to the first self-clip point on this loop, which is at a small wooden post which actually says Blakeway Farm. And it tells you to fork down to the left. So that's exactly what you're going to do. You're going to fork down through the left, following the route description right the way through the woods. You'll emerge from the woods, have about 300 metres across the fields, and then you'll come to an open gate, at which point in time you fork fairly sharply, about 45 degrees, down to the left to join the farm track. And you're not going as far as Blakeway Farm. Last year we actually went right the way along to here, and you forked down at this point, so do beware, the course is different to last year. You'll be turning off earlier and this loop is shorter. Once you're on this track, this whole area here, and I think, let me see if I can zoom into this for you. Bear with it. Okay, I've just changed the scale to a 1 in 25 just to demonstrate this little bit, which is a little bit tricky in the dark. You join this track, which is nice and straightforward enough. The track bends sharp right and continues. Then you enter this field. Now, this field here and this entire area last year was jokingly referred to as the cornfield of doom. Had incredibly high corn, and the GPS, the public footpath, as you can see, goes straight away across here and straight across here. This farmer here doesn't seem to care about that and doesn't leave any path for the right of way. There are all the stiles here and here, but he just plants his crops straight the way across everything. This year Fortunately, there is no high corn. He has, however, planted those nice yellow rapeseed plants. Smells lovely, but what you'll have to do, or we certainly recommend, don't try ploughing your way through the rapeseed because it's up to your kind of waist or something like that. The easiest thing to do is follow the farm machinery track, which is very obvious. You go right the way through here, and just before the field boundary, about 5 or 10 metres before it, there is a right turn where the farm machinery goes right the way down the end of the field. So keep going right the way down. You don't actually reach the end. Just before it, there's a large tree on this side. We have put little pieces of reflective tape around the rapeseed here and around it here. You cut it at this point in time to a large tree, and there is a stile, and then you go straight the way across the next field. Again, this has got rapeseed in it. It didn't have any path at all. We cut a path right the way through it, so you should be following a fairly well established path through the rapeseed to get to this point in time, to get to the stile the other side, where there's a little bridge and a 45-degree cut across to another little bridge here before you go and join a farm track. And after that, it's very easy. So I've spent a little bit of time going through here. It's actually not that difficult as long as you kind of use your common sense and you know you're heading in this general direction. So it's only from here to here is 1 kilometre, 1,000 metres. So follow the obvious paths using the farm machinery, and then cut through at this point in time using the path that we made. If you're on GPS, we've very carefully made the GPX file follow the actual path rather than the public right-of-way sign, which, as I say, is not cutting you through the rapeseed very easily. So this, as long as you stay on it, is plain sailing, no obstacles. You'll go right the way through and make your way onto this farm track here. You then join this farm track for about 1.5 km right the way into to find the checkpoint. Last year the checkpoint was here. This year we've moved it. It's easier actually to follow the road round here rather than cutting through on that right of way. You'll go past a house called the Glen, a white cottage. Immediately after it, we'll find a stile on the right hand side with the next checkpoint, which will be CP15 South Clip at that point in time. You then head across a short field through a very narrow path with some conifers and things like that, and come out just behind the church and emerge on the road in Hewley. And you turn right, head into Hewley, out of Hewley, sorry, turn left, and you head along here for a good few hundred metres before turning left again for about 400 metres, and then you fork left onto a farm track for Lowerbrook Farm. There are little bits of tape right the way through here. There may not be a piece of tape here, so try not to miss that turn off. But again, it's not very difficult navigation. The route description is very good. You should be fine. You'll go along a wide farm track past Lowerbrook Farm, and after you've gone past all the farm buildings and started to descend, there's a ford at this point in time. You could just decide to traipse through it and go through the gate and continue on. Alternatively, if you want to avoid the water, there is a footbridge just to the right hand side. You go over the footbridge, go up a steep little hill, and then veer back onto this track. The track actually ends at this point in time, and you're just following a hedge right the way down, which leads through fields back to the place with the alpacas and the llamas. Then retrace your steps back to what is now checkpoint 16 at East Hope Wood, and you'll then begin your journey along Wenlock Edge, the entire length actually of Wenlock Edge. So let me zoom out a little bit here. You're going to head straight the way along Wenlock Edge for a couple of K. At this point in time, very obvious is a sign that says private drive, please don't go any further, and you head up, join the road, and you cross the road, and there's a little bit of a U-bend which we have carefully marked with tape, but again it's not particularly difficult to make your way up to this point and pick up the path along the Shropshire Way. This is all the Shropshire Way, right the way along through a whole load of fields along to the next drive. Here there's a National Trust sign that says Wilder Hope Farm, sorry, a youth hostel sign. I think there's a National Trust land there one as well, but it says Wilder Hope Manor, which is a youth hostel association. Really nice property actually, if you ever want to stay in the area. You briefly join the road and then turn right, rejoining the Shropshire Way, heading right the way along this, ignoring all the paths to the left and right. You're going straight the way along Wenlock Edge until you get to the road here. Join the road very, very briefly, and then you're back onto this area here. Little sign that says no motor vehicles. So you're continuing straight the way along until you get to. I'm going to continue right the way through, because as long as you ignore all the lefts and rights and keep going straight, you've got no difficulties really at all finding your way through Wenlock Edge up until this point here, where you come into a little car park. You exit the car park and more or less go straight across. It's slightly offset, but you go straight up here, up a little hill, swing a left, and then you follow this for the remaining few kilometres right the way into the Strefford Woods checkpoint, not just near to Moorwood Farm. And then you're going to begin the next loop, which is the Death Loop. That last section was just over 10 miles, and this last loop is around about just under 12 actually. So this is a long loop. The other reason it's called the Death Loop is it's longer and it's got a couple of climbs. Nothing as steep as you've been on earlier on, but certainly after 80 or 90 miles you're going to feel a little bit tired. So soon after the Moorwood checkpoint, you're going to run along just 100 metres. I've screwed almost like a bike reflector into the tree at this point in time. The path kind of does fork at this point in time and does lead along here. So you could, if you missed it, end up here. But hey, you're only 100 metres from the checkpoint. You should be able to remember to take the right fork and descend right the way down to the road at this point in time. There's a ford over the road. Wouldn't run through that one. Go over the footbridge and then turn left 100 metres later. And then you'll make your way out over the fields up into your first clip on the Death Loop, which is CP18. You will be coming back to this point again when you finish the loop before you veer off and head for home, but you don't have to self-clip it the second time. But the first time you clip it, head over a couple of footbridges, and then you join a nice flat section right the way past Bury Mill Cottage, over some fields, into a woodland section here for a little while before skimming the edge of Craven Arms. You'll join the road at this point in time for about half a kilometre, and this is the main road from Craven Arms to Much Wenlock. Don't think there's going to be any traffic at the time of night or early morning that you were on it, but do be careful in case there is. You're then heading across the fields to this farm. There's a footbridge in the middle there. Before you emerge on the road here, you turn right for a couple of 100 metres, and then there's a sign here, actually here as well, that says 3 Woods Walk this way and then 3 Wood Walk that way. You head quite sharply uphill till you get to a fork in the path, and we have marked this section with tape. A little bit tricky, but again, follow the route description and it's easy as pie. You fork to the right, head quite sharply uphill. There's a new plantation of new trees here on your left hand side. This last little bit is a little bit steep, and then you join. You can't see it, but it's actually a very wide, hard-packed 4x4 trail that the people who live in the house that's just here drive up. So they drive on this line, and this 4x4 track actually takes you right the way back down to the road here. Anyway, you're going to turn left on it and follow it for around about a kilometre. You're going to wind your way right the way around Norton Camp, which is an old Iron Age fort area, and you'll find CP19 South Clip, a couple of hundred metres before the house, and then you'll reach the house, which is called the Pheasant Tree. You'll turn left just before the house and head down for a K or K and a half right the way down a wonderful big wide farm track. Really fantastic descent until you reach the road. Once you reach the road, you do a quick left and right and turn into, I think it says Norton Brothers Farm at this point in time. You head past the barns, then take a 45-degree left and head across over all these fields down to join the road at the area called Batch. You turn right, head along for a few hundred metres to Tower House. Tower House looks like a castle. There are battlements on top of it, so that's an easy landmark to spot. Up until recently, this bit of the road has been closed, so actually you've been able to get any further anyway. But you veer left down a green lane for a few hundred metres. You stay on an enclosed path, and at the point where at this point here, the hedge on your left disappears, and this is a wonderful big open field. And at that point in time, be sure to turn left. You head down this field here, and just 30 metres in from the left-hand corner, there's an old kind of rusty brown gate. That gate is usually tied shut, not very easy to open. The easiest thing to do actually is just to climb over that, and then you head over the next gate on your right hand side, up across all these next few fields, again well marked and well taped, until you reach the final south clip on this loop, which is Pt2 at Seafton, whereby you join the road, a few hundred metres on the road, turn left, another few metres on the road along Clay Lane, and you'll emerge again on this main road from Much Wenlock to Craven Arms. Take care as you turn left for 80 metres, then turn right. There's a sign here on your route description which will tell you it says Middle Barn, and you head up this track, nice steady climb, wide hard packed track, and you head right the way up to here. At this point in time, the route is different from 2015. The route used to continue up on a private drive up over this section and make your way right to the summit where there was a tower. By good fortune this year, the farmer who owns these fields is exporting some sheep he's exporting some sheep, and he has to put signs up there isolating them, so we can't go into that area this year. So as a result, we're having to use the public right of way, a bridle way actually, which turns right at this point in time. There's a sign here that says private drive, don't proceed further. So you turn right, join this track which goes right the way down, joins a gravel track, and just before Hill End Farm, very important, you don't go into the farm building area because there's no right of way through there. You turn left before it on a very narrow track initially. It widens as you get to this point, goes quite sharply uphill. It'll hurt this little bit of a climb up to and exit the woods. You join a track just outside the woods which goes down to this point in time, and then you have about 700 metres of going through the little woodland which is just below Callow Hill, and then you emerge, rejoining the 2014 route down the wide forestry trail, around a little black metal barrier, onto the road, ahead 50 metres, and then you fork left at a little kind of green triangle. There's usually a traffic cone in the middle of that. You fork left, follow the road as though you were going up to the farm. Where the road turns sharp right, you join the national right of way, public right of way, sorry, and go back up to the Strefford checkpoint. Okay, so now you're at mile 90, hard bit over. Hopefully you'll get a little bit of food and drink there, get looked after, and then retrace your steps as far as the south clip at CP18. You don't need to south clip it again. What you'll do this time instead is turn right, head across a couple of fields, and this is the very busy A49 road, which at pretty much all times of day has traffic on it. It's probably going to be morning, mid-afternoon, who knows what time it's going to be when you reach there, depends how fast you've been. Cross that with great care. It is probably going to be very busy when you reach it, and at this point in time you've got a nice little road section for a while into Wistonstow, and then veering left heading into Woolston, and then veering left in Woolston and heading along to the road here. We've described the route as using the public right of way which goes through here, which is the safest route. I know some people last year decided to take the road section and go from there to there. This will be daylight, so you shouldn't really have any trouble. We do try and keep you off the roads where possible, so try and use this section rather than that one. You'll arrive in Hamperley, where you'll turn left and head up the road here to Churchmill Farm and Prior's Holt, where actually one of the ecologists from the National Trust lives in this area. And what you're going to do and they always impact our routes for ecology, of which there's lots of important Iron Age mounds and things like that on up on the Long Min, so we have to be quite careful how we choose our routes. So we must say thank you at this point in time to the people who live in this area and support us for the National Trust's for our events which take place on the National Trust land. So you're going to make your way up around the main forestry track, which winds its way around and around here. It's well described in the route description, and you'll make your way. At this point in time, you'll come to a warning flag here which says gliders. This area here, Midland Gliding Club, this is the runway for the gliders. They usually launch off this direction, come around, and they land on here. Now you have to cross the runway. I say it's a runway, it's just grass, so it's difficult to tell that it is a runway, but there will, if it's a good day, there will definitely be gliders on here. They do have spotters who should be looking out for people who are crossing, but obviously take your own safety as priority and don't listen to anyone else telling you there is or there isn't a glider coming. Check the ground. As soon as you've crossed the glider field, if there are people there from the Glider Club, they usually ask you to join this little path here and make your way along and past the Gliding Club. Once you pass the Gliding Club, you go along and join the road, which and this is the road, the Burway actually, which takes you up and links back up with Church Tretton. So you're now on the final stretch on this nice, pretty flat road now, which you'll appreciate, heading along the Long Mind, and you'll fork off the road and head back up to Polebank, which was the very first checkpoint which you tagged. So you're leaving the Burway obviously to get to that. You're then retracing all your steps back through Shooting Box Car Park and then turning right down the Jack Mitten Way and running all the way down that fantastic start down into the valley. You might decide to run across the fords this time rather than using the stepping stones, and make your way right the way down to Glory and a 100-mile finish. And that's it. Thank you for watching. We look forward to meeting you and supporting you at the Apocalypse Ultramarathon on May the 16th and May the 17th. See you there.